All right, so we are on Unit 3, Section 2. It's going to be covering a concept called square roots. It's a section that I really enjoy, and you might be saying, Mr. Schmidt, you're a math teacher, you should enjoy all these things, and you're right, because they're all awesome, and this is just one of the most awesome. Now, before we begin, I just want to share a little story. I recently learned sign language, and I found that it's very handy. See, I can just hear you laughing through the computer. You think it's hilarious. So, we're going to talk about what is a square root. Now, the square root symbol is right here. Now, you can also think of it as a radical, or it looks a lot like the long division sign. I'm not really sure why those two are necessarily linked, but these are called square roots. And I'll tell you that the square root of 9 is equal to 3, and here's why. Because if you do 3 squared, that's going to be equal to 9. And so what you want to know is square root. What is it? It's the opposite of squaring. Whoops, what am I doing? Opposite of squaring. Okay, so square root of 9 equals 3. 3 squared is equal to 9. It's kind of a tongue twister. So the square root of 4 is equal to 2 because 2 squared is equal to 4, okay? So those are really similar ideas. Now, I also want to talk about with square roots, this is impossible, okay? This little symbol means impossible. And the reason why is because it's negative 9 as a square root. So if we were doing the same problem, it would have to be negative 3 squared equals negative 9. And that's not true, because if we did negative 3 squared, negative 3 times negative 3, we know, is equal to a positive 9. So what I would like you to have this in your notes, is the number underneath the square root cannot be negative. Okay? Another thing I want to show you before we start, with these, calculators are not actually that helpful. On that same problem we were just talking about, negative 3 squared, if I took a calculator and I typed that out, negative 3 squared like that, it actually gives me negative 9, which I know is not correct. So with these types of problems, this right here is not good, but that's what a calculator will give you. So be very, very careful. Okay, and if you want to know why that happens, just bring a calculator up to me and I can show you a small way to fix it, but we don't use calculators very much yet anyway. Okay, so now that we've wasted a lot of time, we have a thing called a perfect squares list, and we know that these are opposite ideas. 1 squared and square root of 1 should be opposites. So if we start on the right side here, I'm going to put these all in black. 1 squared is equal to 1, and so the square root of 1 is equal to 1. 2 squared is equal to 4, therefore the square root of 4 is equal to 2. Okay, I want you to fill out this rest of this list. And another thing is, it'd be really, really good to have your list go all the way down, all the way down to 13 squared and the square root of whatever that is. If you bring me that list tomorrow in class, I will give you a piece of candy. Okay? So, finish this list and then I'll cover it up. So this ends up being 9. This ends up being 3. 4 squared is 16. Square root of 16 is 4. 5 squared is 25. Square root of 25 is 5. 6 squared is 36. 6. Nope. 49. And 7. Now, once again, you give that list and bring it to class tomorrow, and you will get candy. Now, for these topics, it's really good to have them memorized, because the process of typing them into a calculator and solving them takes a lot longer than just solving it yourself. Okay, so if you're looking to get assignments done as quickly as possible, memorizing them is definitely the best way. So for these types of problems, we're supposed to figure out what the square roots equal. So for this top one, the square root of 9 is equal to 3 because 3 squared equals 9, and those are opposite. Square root of 100, you got to think of what number squared equals 100. Well, 10 times 10 is 100. Therefore, the square root of 100 is 10. 121. 11 times 11 equals 121, so this will be 11. 36, well, that one should be on our list. That's a 6. These two get a little bit tougher. We have a negative located under the square root. Therefore, this is impossible. Can't have negatives under the square root. And this one's actually a little tricky. The square root of 0. What number squared equals 0? Well, actually, 0 times 0 is 0. Therefore, the square root of 0 is 0. Lots of zeros said there, but it's the same idea. Okay, same reason why 0 squared is equal to 0 as well. Okay? I'd like you to try these on your own, and then I'll put the answers in. So this is 1, 9, 7. This is impossible. This is 13, and this is 12. Okay? How are we doing on time? 6 minutes? All right, I can clean this up by 8. This is what I really like, though, about these square roots. If we're given a number like the square root of 27, the problem with that is if we look back at our list, 27 is in between 25 and 36. So it has to be a decimal between 5 and 6. So on these types of problems, and this is where I really like it, that what we do is this has to be some decimal, but we know it has to be between 5 and 6. So we know the square root of 25 is equal to 5, and we know that the square root of 36 is equal to 6, and 27 is located between these two numbers. Therefore, the decimal point has to be between 5 and 6. Now, I would say that 27 is closer to 25 than it is to 36. Therefore, if 5.5 is the middle, we should pick a decimal place that's in between these two as a guess. Now, any decimal that you guess in there is going to be fine. I'm not going to get too picky about that. But I would say like 5.1 or 5.2 would be best. Okay? And that's because this is closer to this side than it is to this one. Okay? So what you do is you sandwich the number between the two square roots that are closest to it. You figure out what numbers those are, and then you figure out the decimal from there. Nice. Okay, so I'm going to do these two, and then you'll have 2 to try on your own. So I know that the square root of 36 is really close, and the square root above 36 is going to be 49. And I'm clicking my little button here and it's messing up my thing. Okay, so square root of 36 is 6. The square root of 49 is 7. So if the middle is 6.5, because that's in between 6 and 7, 38 looks to be closer to 36. So I'm going to go with 6.1. Okay, 6.2, 6.3 would be fine. But it's just to know that it's on the left side of that. Okay, so down at the bottom, same idea. The closest square root I can think of is this one right here, square root of 49. Well, the square root that's bigger than 49, that's got to be 64. Therefore, this is 7, this is 8. The middle would be 7.5. This appears to be to the left of the middle, so like 7.2, 7.3, somewhere in that range. Now, our problems have always ended up to the left, but they could just as easily be closer to the bigger number to the right. Okay? Try these two on your own, and then you are home free. So this one ends up being between the square root of 16 and the square root of 25, which is 4 and 5. And actually, this is really, really close to this middle number. So 4.5 would be acceptable, but also 4.4 or 4.3 would be very good here. Okay. And the last one, square root of 100 is really close. And also square root of 81. This is 9. This is 10. If 9.5 is the middle, this is actually closer to the right, finally. And so I would say like a 9.8, 9.9, 9.7, somewhere in that range would be the best guess. All right, the assignment is posted online.